It's all about eyesight.
That verse, I felt that way my whole life.
So this is welcome change.
By the way, this is the best time I've ever had on the talk
I'm chill with all the gods. Gods recognize gods.
The only true currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're around.
Welcome back, everybody, to Radio Supernova. I am your host, Jordan Grenke, and I want to give a big shout-out to the wonderful and hardworking staff at riotradio.ca, care of Durham College, and the DCSI there for continuing to help push and present our show. So we want to give a big shout-out and thank you to Dan and Evan of Riot Radio. Today we are joined by Toronto-based alt-rock outfit BIRDS of Bellwoods. I've been lucky enough to have been listening to this band for about 5 years now. I was turned on to their SoundCloud stuff, which was amazingly recorded with one microphone in Kintaro, one of the band members' basements. I was really kind of struck by their folk routes. They had a bit of a, Lumineers, Mumford & Sons vibe. But since then, the BIRDS of Bellwoods have really turned into their own style. They're now a Toronto-based alt-rock outfit, and it's really just great music. I try not to lean into the idea of categorizing a band based on what some of their influences are. I know that it does help give first-time listeners an idea of what they're about to hear, but I almost want to take a different approach with this band. I mean, really, they have their own sound. They're influenced by a variety of things, everything from Pup to the bands I mentioned, There's really nowhere their music can't go, and their blending of styles is really what makes the band so interesting. And when you hear the interview, you'll understand their take and why they've seemed to have wasted very little time making such an indelible mark on our musical landscape here. They've amassed an impressive pile of achievements and accolades in, honestly, a few short years, like less than 5 years. They seem to seamlessly blend alternative folk and pop music. After hearing their stuff on SoundCloud and hearing a few releases, I was really, really anticipating what their release was. And their debut LP, Victoria, came out late in 2018. The album really captures the band's high energy, sort of musical parade of style. Very emotive songwriting laced with really sweet and sticky hooks. Much of the attention to come their way this far has stemmed from the band's live performances. They really are a great band to see live. And, they've opened up for Winter Sleep and the Arkells, and they've had a major slew of their own headlining slots as well. Most interestingly, they've just got off tour doing the Rock the Rink shows, where these guys will go on the ice during these figure skating exhibitions and literally play for arenas full of people. It's something that was really, really unique, and following the band on this, I think, 27 or 28, maybe even 30-date tour, playing arenas across the country was really interesting. Having some insight in our industry, in our music industry, I will tell you that opportunities like that do not come along all the time. It's very difficult to find the right fit there, and to see their interaction with Tessa Virtue and Scott and people, other famous Canadians, Olympians, gold medalists. That it was really amazing to see that interaction of blending a lot of the great things that happen in this country. So speaking with the guys was a great privilege, and we want to give a shout out to their team at Indoor Recess. I want to thank them for helping us set this up. I really want to thank the guys for giving us their time. So we'll go check out that interview right now. We're going to feature 3 of their songs as well. The songs Melatonin, A Year Ago, and their acoustic reworking of a song called Let You Go. These songs are all off of Victoria. You should definitely go check out. They're on all the major streaming platforms. I highly recommend the album on vinyl. It's a great listen. If you're just fans of good music, I think you'll really enjoy this. So here it is, our interview with BIRDS of Bellwoods, and 3 cuts from their debut LP, Victoria.
Hello.
Hey, Stevie, it's Jordan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I appreciate you guys, cutting out time of your day.
We're very, very happy to chat with you.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I thought I'd kind of hit you with some hard-hitting questions and some fun ones that maybe you guys haven't been asked all that much.
We really appreciate that. I am so glad that you've actually taken the time to listen to or read the other interviews so that we don't have to go into the reason we're named for the 100th time. I'm very excited about this. Give me the dirt. Give me the heavy ones.
All right, ready? Complete this sentence for me. I'm a musician because...
Ooh, buddy, that's a great one. I'm a musician because, realistically, I'll be honest with you, I'm a musician because I love attention. From a very young age, I was a performer. I was an actor when I was a kid. And basically, I just always enjoyed telling stories. I loved sharing narratives and creating like cathartic emotional responses. At the time, I didn't really realize that's what it was, or I didn't know to phrase it that way. It just felt like magic to me. But gradually, magic became science. And then a friend of mine when I was in theater school convinced me after a bottle and a half of wine to get up at a open mic and play a few songs that I'd been working on. And previous to that, I'd never really considered myself much of a musician, but I figured what the hell, and I went for it, and I loved the way that felt. And for the first time, I was telling my own stories, and people seemed to be getting something from them that they really needed. And I said, well, this is way better than waiting by the phone and hoping for an audition.
It seemed like you were destined for the stage, or I think almost the entire group was, in a way, destined for the stage.
Destined is one word for it. Doomed, I would say, is another.
Blessing and a curse. When was the first time you knew or you felt like this is what you were meant to do?
That is a really good question.
Like, was there a moment at a show? Did you, this day and age, like, did you see a clip online? Did your father play you a record? Did your friend say, come see this band? Was there a moment where you were like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that.
I would say it happens with the live show. It's always been the live show for us that are the most reassuring moments. I think the real moment when I knew that I was going to commit to this road, that we were going to go down it one way or the other, I think this was a shared moment for all of us. In different ways throughout our young lives and at the beginning of our career, I think there were several moments that encouraged us to continue. But there's this email that we got when our album Victoria came out from a fan who was a younger person. They were about 16, and they'd spent a lot of time in the hospital dealing with various anxiety issues and also some physical ailments. And they expressed to us that our music had helped them through a very, very dark time in their life, that our music had helped them to come to terms with the situation that they were in and with themselves, and had assured them that they weren't alone in a lot of these heavier thoughts, and that we'd been with them through that, and that they could rely on us, and that they considered themselves our friend, despite never having met us. And I think that was really beautiful for us, and that was a moment where our relationship to music changed from just going out there and having fun to realizing that we were doing something kind of important, and that there were people who relied on us, and that we wanted to continue to create for.
Your back is turned. Make love, but I just don't learn. And you keep lighting little matches, but this bridge won't burn. Oh, this bridge won't. Oh no, this bridge won't burn. In my head when I'm all alone, bit of blood and some broken bone. Open eyes on the cracks in the walls that grow. This house is not a home. This house is not a. Oh, this house is not a. Oh, oh, home. Oh, 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 oh. Beside my bed I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, won't speak. Open door on an empty street. Yeah, we're still looking for each other, but our eyes won't meet. And I can't feel next to me in the depth of my dark dead feet. Listening, it's on the wind. Your words creeping, I'm falling asleep. Yes, I'm falling. Oh, yes, I'm falling asleep. Oh, yes, I'm falling asleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up. Keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up, and I go back to sleep. Beside my bed, I keep a bottle of dreams. I wake up.
It's a lot of pressure, though, too.
Oh, no, sure, yeah. I mean,
terrifying.
It's that old Spider-Man thing. With great power comes great responsibility.
You're absolutely right.
So let's say if you weren't doing
I'm more
this,
of a Venom guy, personally.
if you weren't doing this, what do you think you would be doing? Is theater the obvious answer, or?
No. Theater is a rough game, man. Theater is an incredible amount of time commitment. For not a lot of money, and I kind of got very disenchanted with theater. I looked out in an audience one night. I was doing a production. I won't name the production or name the company because I thought it was a brilliant play and put on by some very, very brilliant people. But I basically just started to really question the capacity of theater to change anything. I felt like as soon as the lights went down and everyone turned their cell phones off, and settled into their seat and unwrapped their candies, that everyone kind of disengaged.
Yeah.
That maybe there'd be 10 minutes afterwards if it was a good play that they might discuss it, but then they'd go home and they'd turn on Netflix, and it hadn't been fun. It hadn't been live and engaging. They'd been passive kind of passengers for an experience, and it's very, very hard to convince people to shake anything up when they feel like they're just witnessing and they're not actually involved. So no, it wouldn't be theater. When I was a kid, I found this thing that I wrote from when I was like real little, where one of my teachers had asked me what I wanted to do, and I said that I wanted to be a therapist. And I think there's still a big part of me that would be interested in that. Also, though, I'm reading this book right now about this legal case that was tried in Woburn County down in the United States, and I'm like, oh, man, being a personal injury lawyer on class action lawsuits just seems like incredibly noble work and really exciting. So, I don't know. I think that answer kind of changes every day. Maybe I just live in the woods with Adrian and we have a dog.
Either one would be, but I think there's a correlation there between what you said about theater, what you said about music, and then what you said about both those other options, because either way you're making a difference to, in a way, strangers. I mean, yeah, you get to know your patients a little bit when you're doing like therapy and stuff like that, but I mean, ultimately you want to make a difference in other people's lives. That's kind of a direct correlation with all three of those things. So there you go.
Yeah, the overall goal for me, I think, what I want more than anything is just to create cathartic emotional experiences that people can feel released by, and that can encourage people not to feel as alone, and that can kind of help people achieve some sort of revelation that can push them forward in their lives.
Yeah. Well, I think interesting that you mentioned experiences only because it's a perfect segue to my next question here was you've made this remarkably, it seems, at least on the outside, easy transition from, let's call it kind of a folk three-piece or a folk outfit to this more, alt-rock pop group with folk roots. And it seems, at least in my eyes, an easy transition. Was it a decision that something needed to progress within the band? Was it a conscious decision, or was it just a natural thing that once you guys got back together, you wanted to get a little more loud?
I think more than anything, it was just a natural progression. I would say that we just started more creating the music that we always wanted to make. When we look back at our influences, none of us were folk purists. It just kind of happened to be, I think, that none of the four of us originally were drummers.
Yeah.
And I played mandolin, Chris played banjo, and I was really into Mumford & Sons at the time, and there was that whole kind of folk revival thing that was happening. So it's just kind of the arena that we sat in when we started out.
Yeah.
But we had never had any intention of just being a folk band. That was not the modus operandi when we started out. And we had this show in Kitchener at Koi Fest around the time when you said you first started listening to us.
Yeah.
Where this guy came up to us after the show and he said to Adrian, "Man, that was awesome. I love when punk bands play acoustic."
Oh,
we were
really?
Like, oh, damn, all right, I don't think we're a folk band. And just the level of energy that we were creating at our shows, it didn't feel folky. Didn't want to play to 600 people sitting down in the seat.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I understand. So does that
So our
change?
music just kind of grew to suit that. It absolutely was a natural thing. It's just, man, drums are sick.
Yeah,
drums are
so much more
are
fun.
really, really fun. Making people dance is super fun. Electric guitars are wild.
Yeah.
Adrian absolutely loves pedals. So does Chris. And we all do. Yeah, it's we're just having fun. That's what we want. And I think as we continue making music, you're only going to hear more of that.
I think it's great. And
as well as the old stuff. That's the thing, though. Someone will always bring in a song, and we'll go like, "This is what it is. This is one guitar and harmonies and strings, maybe." And we just kind of let the songs try to show us what they most need, and we try as much as possible not to get in the way of that.
And I think what's great too is that you always have that early stuff to fall back on and put into your set, so you're showing a lot of different dynamics when you guys play.
I hope so.
No, definitely. I mean, I've looked at some of the live stuff and some of the set lists, and I went like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you can always throw back in the earlier stuff, and you can strip it down, and it can still be upbeat. A lot of people strip it down for a ballad or two or an acoustic version of a song, but it's nice when you can kind of be like, hey, you know what? Let's drop these for a few minutes, pick up the old stuff, have some fun, and go back to it.
Yeah, and in creating our new work, which we're working on right now, we're realizing that, like, as much as some songs may press into new and uncharted territories or more kind of pop or stadium rock, we're also always going to have some songs like that in our project.
Yeah.
So we won't even have to reach back into the old material as much as just present new material that sits in that folk realm.
Now, does that change the writing dynamic of the band? Because when I was going through some of the writing credits here, it seems like almost every song is co-written.
Yeah, we have always maintained that we are going to write all of these songs together. Different people on different songs take different roles.
Yep.
For Victoria, for certain songs, a lot of the lyrics came from me. A lot of the instrumental rhythmic stuff came from Kintaro and Chris. Adrian wrote pretty much all of Leaving Song and then just brought it to us, and we were like, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much set. And then, but we don't consider the songs really until everyone's touched them. Yeah. We have a great respect for what each of us brings to the table, and we've developed over the course of time a really strong working vocabulary. We're able to present things to each other at a lot of different stages in their production, and we're able to build them together. So, also, it's just a great way to keep the band together.
Yeah, I was just going to mention.
Feels represented and happy.
Yeah, and you know what? All the bands that have notoriously done this have had such longevity in the music industry. Look at bands like Coldplay and U2, even in a way like Lennon and McCartney to go way back. But every time a band splits the songwriting credits, there seems to be almost less to fight about.
I completely agree. I'm really excited because with some of the new stuff that we're making, while a lot of the songs happen in the room, also kind of each of us individually have brought more formed pieces to the table, and we're a bit less, I think there's a little less fear, or we don't really have much ego anymore. It's kind of been beaten out of us.
Yeah.
So a lot more often we're able to just go like, I think the other thing is after 5 years of gradually influencing each other, we can hear each other's voices in our minds as we're writing these songs. We can ask ourselves, what would Adrian do? What would Katara do? What would Stevie do? So by the time they come to the table, there's a lot more room to just be like, this is great. We don't need to mess with this verse right now. The story tells itself. If I try to seed my own ideas into this, I'm gonna split hairs and I'm gonna make it more confusing. So yeah, like in the next project, you're gonna hear, I think, more clear pieces of each member of this band. I'm very excited for that.
I see the lines that time designs. They chart a map across your face. With every smile, they build their mile. And with each tear, at twice the pace. We're young a year ago. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. We were young a year ago. Is it too late? Is it too late? The second hand comes round again. It lives to pass and will not land. It is our fate. With each new day, the hourglass becomes the sand. We were young a year ago. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. We were young a year ago. Is it too late? Is it too late? We were young a year ago. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. We were young a year ago. Is it too late? 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 And we were young a year ago. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. We were young a year ago. Is it too late? Is it too late? We were young a year ago. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. We were young a year ago. Is it too late? Is it too late?
I noticed you guys worked with Jack Emblem, and at the time when Victoria came out, I had never really known much of his work, and I was wondering what gravitated the bands towards working with Jack, because as far as I know, and my research is never the best in the world, but he wasn't really too much of a credited producer at that time.
Jack was a guy that we'd known from our friends in the industry for quite some time. He'd done some really incredible work with a pal of ours by the name of Jesse Gold.
Oh, okay.
And he had expressed interest previously in working with us, and we didn't have a lot of contacts in the industry at the time. We figured, what the heck, we'd give it a shot. We also wanted a producer who could work with us as a collaborator and as a peer. We didn't necessarily want to bring our work into someone, a big dog who would boss us around and basically make his own album through our work. we'd had a few short experiences with people like that in the past, and it just wasn't for us. And a lot of these songs needed time in the studio to breathe and to expand. And that's the reason that we came to Jack, and Jack proved that he was exactly the guy for that job. And we're incredibly proud of the work that we did with him. And every new release that he has now, we're all super stoked to listen to it.
I loved the way he made the band sound. I thought every instrument stood out. Nothing was overly buried. It seemed to capture what I had come to know as a strong live dynamic. And it really sounds like you guys were having fun with the material, and I think that takes a great producer. So
yeah, you want to have some fun, also listen to his work with Jesse Gold and listen to his work with Ralph as well. These are more pop-leaning artists, but I think you can still hear Jack through that, and I think, I agree. He's got an incredible voice as a producer, and I'm very stoked to see where he goes.
So,
also, he was just so patient with us in creating our first album.
So that was it.
The other guys, like Adrian Gintaro, have a lot stronger of a voice as producers. They were more aware of certain terms at the time and just like how to communicate in that language.
Yeah.
But the hours that I spend in the studio with Jack, just being like, can it sound like more kind of orange and silky? And he'd just have to kind of interpret what that meant.
Yeah.
And 85% of the time, he'd figure it out.
Yeah. No, that's great, and I love that he's credited on some of the material too, and I think that goes a long way to show the band's character. Like, you don't just shove him in a producer credit. He's got, some stuff on the songs, and I think that's great too. And you mentioned a little bit about our industry and getting contacts and stuff. And as somebody who's in a music business administration program and been rewarded opportunities like the one I'm having right now with you, Stevie, I'm a big fan of the industry, and I'm a huge proponent of advocating for just how uniquely giving and great it is. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind talking about some of your experiences in regards to like the advantages, things like SOCAN and Factor and some of the opportunities that the band had, especially in their early stages.
I think we're all incredibly grateful to be part of the Canadian music industry, and even more specifically part of the music industry in Ontario, and even more specific than that, to be part of the thriving music scene in Toronto. Before we even talk about some of the more infrastructure-related opportunities that were presented to us, I can say that we're part of an incredibly caring and generous scene. We're never afraid to share our music with either our label mates or our mates on our booking agency or just our friends in the industry. And it's not an environment, it's not like a crab bucket. No one's trying to pull each other down. Everyone's trying to boost each other up. And there's enough great songs to go around. I feel like that's very much a part of the environment that we're in, and an attitude that pervades it. No one's stealing from each other. No one's afraid of each other. Everyone just wants everyone to have a good time. As well, SOCAN is an incredible resource. Some of the first chopper checks that we ever got were from notifications of live music performance, which is a resource that every artist in Canada should be making use of.
Yeah.
You have a right to be paid for performing your own work, and especially at festivals, that can really help. That can provide you with a lot of gas. SOCAN is also an amazing industry in terms of connecting the people that make up its membership. We're actually right now looking into a few songwriting opportunities that SOCAN presents. And everyone that works there is just so willing to help. And that's very hard to find. Also, Adrian, how did we pay for the first album? It was Factor, it was Ontario Arts, OAC and Factor. So the Ontario Arts Council as well, they gave us a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Factor gave us a bunch of money. You got to work really hard. You got to prove to them that you got a fighting shot at making a difference. So
yeah,
we're willing to take a gamble on new artists, and we're very lucky to live in a country that provides that opportunity to us.
So if you can, I don't know if you can remember back to when you guys were applying for Factor, but it's quite the process.
Adrian would like to thank the Academy.
Oh, excellent. Well, we're like one day, we're the next morning from the Golden Globe, so I understand his headspace might still be there.
That'll be fun.
So who was tasked to do the Factor application? Because that is a lengthy, detailed process. For those of you who might not know what Factor is, Factor stands for the Foundation Assisting Canadian Talent on Recordings. They're a private, non-profit organization that are dedicated to providing assistance towards the growth and development of the music industry in Canada. It's a one-stop shop, really, to get your band or your project or your recordings or whatever you're doing musically off the ground. It's really sort of a backbone of our industry in Canada here now. Without going into too much detail, they're basically, you can apply for funding from everything from sound recordings to marketing to tour support, videos, songwriter support for music publishers, something I'm very passionate about. Even, business travel, radio marketing, artists from official language minority communities. Like, you name it, Factor will try and help you out. It really should be, actually, if you're going to do two things and you're in a band, the first thing you need to do is get your stuff on SOCAN. And then the next thing you do is you go to Factor, and then I'm going to throw in the CMRRA as well. Those 2-3 things, this is from a student of the Music Business Administration and Management program at Durham College. It's something that we're drilled on. It really is the foundation, and I can't use that word any more intensely. It's the foundation of what every band needs to have any sort of level of success in our industry. So, yeah. Anyway, Stevie, sorry about that. Back to the Factor application from you guys.
We all definitely took turns being a part of that. Also, someone very close to the band, Maya Steven-Zielinski, was involved in the writing process for the grant.
Yeah. Okay.
She definitely. I have a tendency to pontificate and to go on, and as is probably expected for a songwriter, to create long-winded metaphors and to grandstand. And she is very, very helpful in encouraging me not to do that and to boiling all of our kind of diasporic ideas down to clean, simple sentences that would be edible for the granting body.
You might be similar to me in the regard where if I see in one simple sentence, please, I'm like, I can't do it. Can't do one simple sentence. I need that paragraph. I get very enamored with my own voice. I think I get excited by just like how big an answer can get. And words, man. I just love words. So I get super verbose. I get just unnecessarily grand.
I literally have met my counterpoint, another human being. This is fantastic. I talked to the right person for sure.
Very nice to meet you.
Well, yeah, and so kind of circling back to the very beginning here, I'm the same way. I love...
Oh, for the record, I have the same issue with my songwriting. And
do you?
Also one of the great reasons that you have to keep a band around you.
Every song is American Pie.
What does that mean? What does it actually... What are you actually saying?
I don't know why I'm getting into personal anecdotes, but I have a friend of mine, every time he goes to write a song, he goes, I got these 8 verses, I can't condense them. And I'm like, how do you have 8 verses? He goes, I just feel like I can keep writing it until it's better. I'm like, yeah, I guess write 100 verses until you get the one, but man, you must have like 5 songs by now if you're writing 8, 10, 12 verses. Man, save some of that stuff, like spread it around,
Tell him to pick 2 and throw the rest out, and then in a week, see what he actually remembers from the other one.
Yeah,
because if in a week he's forgotten about all the good stuff, generally if you throw something out and you forget it, then it wasn't that good.
Yeah, that's what Jack Johnson says. He says, if I can't sit down and try to write a song, and then the next time he sits down, he doesn't remember it was no good.
Yeah.
He doesn't write down his own lyrics.
I completely agree. It's very important, and I completely agree. If you can't, or you might not remember it in a week, but some of the things that I wrote 5 years ago that I never wrote down will still just pop up in my head, and that's usually, unfortunately, a sign that they could be boring.
Yeah, and then you can always change the words, or even if it's a melody or something that you're whistling, and you're always whistling that melody, and you're like, oh man, that melody really stuck with me. That's a good sign.
I agree.
So I'll wrap this up. I know you guys are on your way to Ottawa, right?
That is correct.
Well, I also
Algonquin College.
Beautiful, nice. Those college shows. I wish that Durham College, as much as I do love everything, had more of that. Canadian content sort of showcases for artists. I know we do Oshawa Music Week and stuff like that, but there's just only so many slots that you can put people in, and I miss those college campus concerts, man. When I used to go to Fan Shell to see, Big Wreck and Finger Lab and all these old bands, we used to travel because the campus shows, they were all $10. You could just go in. It was, I miss those. I'm so glad you guys are playing those. But
I'm pretty sure you can still see Big Wreck for around the same price.
Honestly, we saw them at the Oshawa Music Hall end of November, and honestly, my ticket was $25.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And like, we can go on about Big Wreck another time. I mean, there's so much talent in Ian Thornley just by himself, and they were still great, still loud, still boisterous, still rocking hard. But I love that you commented on the fact that it's nice to have an interview where people do their research and stuff. And it made me think of a question that I wrote out really quickly while you were talking. Was, can you think of what question you never want to answer again?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Sure.
I'm gonna get spanned in on this, guys. What questions do we never want to answer again? I could start. Why is your band named what it's named? Where does that name come from? What's Bellwoods? That one I could honestly. How did you all meet? Another question that I never need to answer again. Adrian, you got any more? This is good. Give us a minute because this is an important question to ask.
Take your time.
Those are the big ones. Those are really, really the big ones.
Those are the key ones.
Yeah, it's true. As Adrian says, all of the others have some substance. Exactly. Why does it matter? If you said those ones are really just like, who cares? Like, yeah, what does it matter? Let's get to the substance of it. Let's talk about the music. Also, and I don't mind it in the context of this interview, but we do get a lot of questions about our shift from folk to rock, and I think just for the exact reasons as you mentioned, because it feels so natural to us, it's getting a bit tiresome answering those questions.
Yeah, no problem.
We almost sometimes wish that we'd never started this 4-piece acoustic band just so that so that when we played that music, it would be more like, oh, cool, they also do this, as opposed to someone picks up an electric guitar and they're like, oh, wow.
What have you done?
What could this possibly mean?
Like you discovered, like you guys discovered electricity all of a sudden. It's like, how'd you guys discover electricity?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Also, we just plugged it in. It was the craziest thing. It turned out it was there all along. Also, I think, how long have we been a band?
Oh, yeah.
How old are you is another one. We're old.
Yeah, we're super old.
We've been a band for a long time. One of my least favorite things about this industry right now is that you'll see a band come out with their debut album for like the 5th time.
Oh, I know.
Or here's my first song, and it's like, man, I have 30 of your songs on my phone.
Yeah.
How can this be your first song? And I think what it creates is this Shark Tank where like you're only as good as the streams on your first song ever. And I just think that's so unhealthy because a lot of my favorite artists, I didn't really like their work until like the 3rd album.
Yeah. And
I think it just like, it gives everyone sweaty palms. So I think when we concentrate on, how long a band has or hasn't been together, that we distract from the real subject matter, which is the music and the stories that they're trying to tell and the merit of that.
Do you guys focus at all on longevity?
I mean, we all want to stay alive and continue being a band. We drink smoothies and work out, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, you guys have already been to school once. You have to stop being a band, go back to school, and go into those chosen careers.
I have no interest in going back to school. I didn't do so well the first time.
Okay, so I've got this is one of my favorite closing questions. It's really interesting. You have to kind of bear with me a little bit. Actually, before I ask it, I have a pre-question to that. Have you guys noticed how badass everyone's last names are?
In the band?
Yeah.
I mean, other than Joffe.
Well, doesn't that translate to beautiful? Isn't the translation for that like Hebrew for beautiful?
Hey, you are very well researched.
Thank you,
and
my friend.
I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the time.
Actually, yes, you're correct. My full name apparently means son of a handsome man.
There you go.
Which is so the grandson of a handsome man.
Adrian Morningstar is like...
Adrian Morningstar is badass.
Chris Blades.
Yeah, extremely badass.
Kentaro Akiyama.
Yeah.
Right? Translation, Autumn Mountain.
Kentaro, did you know that Akiyama means Autumn Mountain? He nods approvingly. Do you know what his first name means?
You know what? There was 3 different definitions, and they were all so far apart that I didn't take a stab at it.
Well, hold on. What were the 3 definitions?
Oh, I'd have to re-Google it, so you'd have to give me some time here. But yeah, you know when I got yours, one was like beauty, handsome, something else, and I was okay. Well, they all kind of mean sort of beautiful. And then when I got to Akiyama, I was okay, and they all kind of was like autumn, and they were all kind of similar. When I went to Kentaro, I think because it's used in like wrestling, and there's a UFC fighter named something Kentaro, or he's a Pride fighter or something like that. And I just remember being like, this is way too far from here. But I kept on getting like hero or like.
Yes, from what I'm given to understand, it's basically the equivalent of naming your child Superman.
Hero, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
Which I can confirm is accurate.
Okay, nice. Then I would have guessed, no problem. But I mean, as far as badassery for names, that's what you guys could not have put together. You guys could have had, the Adele, Madonna, Beyonce thing. You guys could have been like, Jaffe, Morningstar, Blades. You guys could have had one word names.
I mean, what's really, really fun is that on songwriting credits, that is how it will read. It will only be last names, and there you have it, like McCartney, Lennon.
That's
way more badass.
Oh yeah, and plus put that little slash there beside Morningstar and Blades. Oh, now we're just getting literal with our conjunction. Okay, now here's that badass question that I've come across this question once, and I thought I'm closing every interview that I possibly can with it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Hit me.
If you could bring back...
Wait, hold on.
Yep.
Hold on. Okay, now I'm ready.
Excellent. If you could bring back one person in all of human history, who would it be and why?
Oh. Wow.
There's a second part to this.
So let me... Jeez.
Anybody. Music, film, anybody.
Anybody?
Anybody in human history.
Well, that's a lot of pressure.
How about just musically?
No, why would I pick someone musically? There's so many more important figures.
Okay, let's keep it big.
You know what? I'm gonna say. No, I can't say that. Do we know if he ever existed? I don't know. So, geez, this is a lot. You know what? I'm gonna cede the question to Kentaro. I'm passing you over to
I just need one person.
He's gonna answer the final question.
Okay.
1 second. Yeah, the question is about if you could bring back anyone.
Who would it be and why?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, Kentaro. How's it going?
Not too bad, buddy. Sorry, I'm getting tossed in here in the
I know.
second.
The pressure has already decimated Stevie, so I hope you're up for this.
All right. What's the question we got here?
The question is, it's going to be 2 parts. So the first part is, if you could bring back one person in all of human history, who would it be and why?
Do I need to know the second part of the question, or is that
no? That's the best part of the question.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Give me a second here. One person. This is a hard question. I can really see why he handed this one up.
It's big.
He took all the soft, he took all the underhand throws. So I'm the 9th inning pitcher.
I gave him the option of going music only, and then he said, no, I'll keep it big. So you can narrow it down to like musician, or if you want to make it easy, like there's no problem with that.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna take it easy on myself. I'm gonna go with musician.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Jimi Hendrix. It might seem like a kind of basic bitch
No.
answer, but
No, that's a big pick.
I feel like when I kind of like came into music, he was a huge influence on me. I had studied like classical music and jazz for a long time, want to continue to study that time. And then I kind of come home at night and just play guitar, and he was definitely a huge influence for me. And, you know, it's crazy to think that he died younger than I am today. And so had he lived on, it'd be very interesting to see where he would take in his musical adventure. Yeah,
I think that's a great pick. Now, if the ceremony to bring him back involved you immediately going completely bald, would you still do it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, nice. You'd be surprised how many people go, no, like, you know, no, I can't go bald right away.
Oh, that's awful. I feel like I must say I do have pretty long and
you've got a full head of hair for sure.
Yeah, I got a lot of hair, but I'd be willing to give that up. I don't know. I think about shaving my head sometimes, so you know this would be a good reason to.
There you go. Bring back Jimmy, shave the head, but it's permanently bald. But it's still okay. You're gonna do it.
Yeah, they got hats.
Well, listen. Please give Stevie a warm thank you for me. Thank you to yourself. Best of luck today at Algonquin College, and I can't wait to see you guys when you come back to Oshawa. We already got tickets for the show. We're really looking forward to it. All the best in 2020. Looking forward to new music. Right. And again, thank you guys so much for taking the time out for us today.
Oh, man, thank you very much. And, yeah, we'll see you then.
Safe travels, guys. Take care.
The bed is bare, like the walls we used to share. Are you holding on? 'Cause I am getting scared that I'm not strong enough to say goodbye. Don't know if I'll survive. I don't wanna let you go. 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 This empty room is filled with thoughts of you. And all the years that I was looking forward to. 'Cause I'm not strong enough to say goodbye. Don't know if I'll survive. I don't wanna let you go. 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 It's letting go that makes a man. But I hold on to what I can. It's letting go that makes a man. But I hold on to what I can. I'm losing all the love that could have been. And I'm giving you to him. I don't wanna let you go. 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 The bed is bare,